So I'm going to give you a little bit of background here of ExactTarget. Has anybody heard of ExactTarget? A couple people, okay. I want you to copy these things down first. Use your pens, use your iPads, whatever the hell you want to use. The top link is to this slide deck on SlideShare. It's mobile, hopefully, SlideShare. I think SlideShare is mobile enabled. You have the ability to view this deck while we're going through it. Now, the reason I'm giving you this link is because I have 115 slides that we will go through in 40 minutes, 35 minutes. Okay, is everybody cool with that? So we call it, it's just my form of presentation, how I do it. But we call it the crack presentation. So you need to copy this link down. Now remember to capitalize F and capitalize C, because Bitly hasn't figured out that caps locks completely kills the link. So if you don't put a capital F or capital C, you will not get to the slide deck, okay? Company is in the middle. Who's tweeting from this event? Put your hands up. You're tweeting from the event. All right. Okay, so feel free to tweet. If I'm doing a terrible job, feel free to hate on me. My bosses are watching this feed, so just remember that. And then you all know the hashtag, right? So ExactTarget has 300 clients in Canada. We're headquartered in Toronto. We were started in Indianapolis, Indiana as an email service provider. So we send about 11 billion emails a month. We are the largest email service provider in the world. We have 250 plus mobile clients, 200 enterprise clients in terms of social media, in terms of tracking. So we're a software that basically handles all channels in one system, okay? And we integrate with major CRMs and smaller CRMs. So we serve a client base of enterprise up to Canadian Tire, Walmart Canada, RBC. We handle all the mobile for RBC. And then a lot of other clients that our sales director wanted me to say, and I lost the slide. That's a non-tweetable moment. Do not tweet that. So there's going to be times in here where I say it's a non-tweetable moment, which means that you can't share it because it's either embarrassing to me or embarrassing to the company. So when I say that, just make sure that you don't tweet it. And I know that some of you will. That's just why I say it. All right. Did everybody get the slides? Oh no. We are going to talk about ExactTarget the whole 45 minutes. Is that okay with everybody? You're going to switch out the other one? Okay, so I'll give you a little bit more background while we're doing this. Because I have 115 slides, I have to have a clicker, or it's going to be really awkward for Harley and everybody else. Targus is just not working out today. I'm telling you, Logitech for life. So I do marketing research and education for ExactTarget, and so all the content that's in this slide deck is going to be stuff that we researched in the community. I'm going to say that I don't have any Canadian baseline research that is actually going to be released in May of this year. So if you want to copy down exacttarget.com/SFF, or just go to exacttarget.com and find the research page, exacttarget.com/SFF, you can actually download that Canadian research. In May, not now. But, so we're going to have stats from Brazil, stats from Australia, stats from Germany, stats from France, stats from the United States. And the reason why we're doing that is because from a global perspective, I think, are we all in agreement that global is pretty much what we're all doing now? Are we all in agreement on that? If you're not, that's fine. You can yell at me or tweet. Just use my name so you can hate on me on there. But we're all in a global community because of the internet and because of everything that's happening now. So the trends have to do with what we found when we've been researching with our clients, researching with our consumers, and researching with just how to use different channels. So, yes?
Keep going fast.
All right, keep going fast. Okay, we're going to go really fast now. We're actually going to get through all these slides in 20 minutes. It's going to be the best thing ever. Okay, so out of the research, it's the Channel 2012 Channel Preference Survey, Retail Touchpoints Exposed, Marketers from Mars, and our Global Executive Summary, which you can all go download at exacttarget.com/SFF. So through this, we're looking at trends, right? And so trends have to do with what everybody thinks is going to be the next big thing. And what is this picture of? Does anybody know? Google Glass, right? Who's familiar with Google Glass? We're going to talk about that later. But I think Google ruined it for marketers because when Google came about, I could change a title tag on a website, and I got on the first page of Google, and I just printed money, right? It was like raining down title tags for a business, and it was the next big thing. And so when we as marketers took advantage of Google or Bing or any other search engine, I think it ruined us because we started looking for the next big trend over the past 10, 12 years, right? And so Facebook came about, right? And we're still trying to figure out what to do with Facebook, of course. MySpace with old Rupert came about. Second Life, does anybody remember Second Life? Yeah, right. Brands spent millions of dollars in Second Life. It's that virtual world where you walk around with your virtual person and talk to virtual people, right? And you had virtual products and billboards, and it was really weird. They're still making money, but it's still odd. Still very awkward. Of course, Twitter came about. Path. Does anybody use Path in here? Okay. One of the speakers. That's great. Trendsetters up here. Pinterest. Who uses Pinterest? 70% should be women in here. Men, good. I use Pinterest too. We have a client, Boston Celtics, that use Pinterest all the time, and they actually track ticket sales from Pinterest. Vine, of course. Who uses Vine? I saw somebody made a video. Who made a video today of Vine? You did, right. Okay, so keep in mind that 86% of the population, at least in the United States, has no idea what you're talking about when you're talking about Vine. So more than likely, if you're pitching a social media and you're like, we should use Vine for video marketing, the people are going to be like, we have no idea what you're talking about, right? Because the 1% on that slide is pretty much everybody in this room, okay? So Vine is another trend that we're talking. Google Plus, of course, Vimeo, YouTube. Welcome to MySpace now with JT, right? JT's bringing it back with his hot album and Jay-Z and all that jazz. Who uses MySpace? My first business sold MySpace pages to nonprofits. How many did I sell? I want you to guess. What were you going to say first, though? Zero, that's true. I didn't sell any. No MySpace pages were sold in my first company. Okay, so we try to find the next big thing constantly, and a lot of times we move to look at journalists or people writing about the content and researching the content to try to make and form a strategy. So through this research, the number one is the undead. Does anybody have any idea what this picture's of? Number one trend's the undead. Zombies, right? But from what?
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead from what? AMC. So if there's anything, does anybody watch The Walking Dead in here? Okay, I was going to be weirded out if nobody did. So if you're going to take down anything in this presentation, it's AMC. I want you to write down AMC, because if you watch Mad Men, The Walking Dead, and Breaking Bad, you pretty much have marketing figured out, if you can figure that stuff out, those three things. And the undead just means that we keep seeing and saying things are dead because things are coming out constantly, right? So I'm going to show you some examples of this. Why email no longer rules. Is email dead? Haven't you heard email's dead, according to Facebook's COO? Mark Zuckerberg says the email's end is nigh, LOL. Facebook is dead for Gen Y, what's next? Twitter is dead, long live Twitter. Blogging is dead, why stupid people shouldn't blog. Marketing is dead, the web is dead. The CMO is dead, the death of advertising, death of big data. The death of big data was like 2 months ago, and we just started talking about it. I just got stressed out. I was like, I've been trying to figure this out the whole time, and now I'm just stressed because I feel like it's dead now. Now, what am I supposed to use for marketing? I'm just going to delete my entire database because big data is now dead, apparently. Okay, and the reason why we shouldn't look at these things is because it has to do with our database, right? And all of these things that are undead, it's not true. And we'll have some of this stuff come out in the next couple of months in terms of the Canadian population, but if you look at research having to do with the United States and Canada, it's pretty similar. How we use things, how we consume things digitally, okay? So this is from the SFF report that we did, Change in Preferences from 2008 to 2012. We asked people if you preferred a certain channel to get marketing, which channel would it be? 2008 in gray, 2012's orange. Email, 77% of the population, online consumers said they prefer marketing messaging via email, right? That's great. I'm an email vendor. You guys are like, okay, whatever. Text messages went from 1% to 5%. What was interesting is we had 3 people in 2008 say they wanted marketing via social networks out of the 2,000 people we interviewed. And it jumped 6%. Well, I can't do the math. You know that's a lot more than just 6%, but we'll just go past that. Is that 600%? If it goes up, okay, so 600%. It's a much better number than 6%. And the change in preferences just means that when you guys are talking about this stuff and we're talking about data and we're talking about using personalized content, it all comes back to knowing who's in your database. It all comes back to knowing who buys your product. Because I think a lot of times, and I'm going to say this and everybody gets mad, we're lazy in terms of how we communicate. Batch and blast messaging, meaning we send a newsletter out to 1,000 people every month because we wrote one newsletter, is not going to drive revenue or drive anything because it's the same message. Do you like being told the same thing over and over and over and over again? Absolutely not, right? And so we are at a point, and that's why I love talking to marketers, number one, because we sell to marketers, but number two is because you guys are the innovators in companies, in major organizations. You are the one that change things, right? Is everybody in agreement with that? Because yeah. Battle cry. We got Braveheart coming in. All right. I think we need to understand that there is a huge and massive change happening in marketing right now, and I don't know if we're ever going to see this amount of change happen in a given time period. If you look over the past 10 years, right? If you take a snapshot of the past 10 years, it is changing dramatically. Marketers are changing dramatically, right? Is everybody familiar with Gartner? Survey company, Gartner, research, that's a non-tweetable moment. Please don't say survey company, because the Gartner people will kill me. They're a research company, and they said by the year 2016, the CMO will control more technology budget than the CIO. Because marketing technology is the next frontier of marketing, and data and math. There's a reason why Best Buy goes and hires a rocket scientist from MIT. Why? What is he doing? He's trying to figure out how to sell you a TV with you not actually telling us. Predictive modeling, right? Now the whole world's going to go to hell because we have all the smart people in the world working for Best Buy, but that's fine. They're not going to be solving world problems. They're going to be solving how to deliver TVs to people. But when we're doing our research, that's another non-tweetable moment. Customer lifecycle, this is how we do it. So when you're thinking about this, when we're talking about the undead and all the other changes, this is what we want to look at. Awareness, evaluation, purchase, usage, repurchase, and advocacy. And every single strategy that you build for your company should follow through this cycle for each individual consumer. And I don't care if you're B2B or B2C, because frankly, I'm tired of hearing that the B2B and B2C strategies are different. That's absolute crap. You're selling to a person. You're selling an idea to a person, right? Is that fair? No matter if it's a B2B or B2C. Now, there's a little bit difference between a Toys R Us and a management consulting company. But the high-level idea is not. So through this, and remember, you can download this because I know you can't read it. Through this process, you want to have every digital touch point that you have for each consumer within this strategy, right? So whether it's events, whether it's Foursquare, Twitter, email, SEO, SEM, you want to be able to build a strategy around this. So when we're talking about business getting and business keeping, it's about moving somebody through awareness to advocacy. And where does social fit in on this chart? Where do you think it fits in? Where would you assume that it fits in? Everywhere, but there's one important one. Advocacy, right? In my opinion. Advocacy and sometimes evaluation and awareness, but we're going to go through that. Everybody got that? Everybody cool with that? And another thing, if I ask a question you guys don't answer, I'm just going to stand up here awkwardly, and nobody's going to have any idea what's going on. So we need to communicate with each other because we're all communicators, right? Number two is social audiences. Social media in general changed a lot of things that we do. I think it's still changing it, but social audiences have built that niche-type community that we need in order to get a lot of things. So this is my favorite quote. Who's familiar with We Are Social? Okay, everybody, under AMC, because I know you wrote it down, and Breaking Bad and all that stuff, you need to write down We Are Social. They're a social media agency out of the UK, London, and I read every single thing that they send out. Every day when they're publishing stuff because they know what they're doing when it comes to social. The savviest brands will begin to build small, highly engaged communities where they can learn more about what their audiences want, need, and desire. And the most important part about social media is those 4 words. Small, highly engaged community. I'm tired. I've been doing it for 7 years, which in the long run just doesn't seem like a very long time, but in technology, for some reason, it's like a lifetime. But I'm tired of hearing about an increase in likes as a way to prove that social's working, because it's absolute crap. How long does it take for somebody to like a page? How long does it take? Not even a second, right? Unless you have a really slow finger, or you have like a mouse. Not a Logitech. A Logitech mouse works every time, but you actually can like brands faster with a Logitech mouse. Okay, it does not show. You like how we're throwing in the different brands that are here? It's great. It does not show engagement. It doesn't show brand loyalty. A like does not show brand loyalty. Now, it's an owned audience, which is important, but you want small, highly engaged communities to do a lot of things. A follower count that is rising is good, but it doesn't show success at all. We cannot pitch. Social media as a job is going to die a very fast death if we keep pitching engagement metrics as a way to measure success. Because it's not, because it's all going to come back to revenue. And as technology gets better, math is going to come into the equation. Right? What? Somebody disagree? Or was that a cough? Math is, oh, that was like a praise, like a amen? Great. All right, so let's look at Facebook. Why do people like Facebook pages? And I'm going to go through these really fast. United States, number 1 was to receive a discount and promotion. Number 2 is to show my support for the company to others. Number 3 was to get a freebie, and number 4 was to stay informed about the activities of a company. France, receive discounts and money off promotions, keep up to date, receive free stuff. I shop with this company and buy this brand. So France is a little bit more brand-oriented in general. Germany, to keep up to date, to receive, you guys see a trend here, to receive advance notice of new products, to receive free stuff or giveaways in exchange for my email address. It's very pointed. UK, to receive discounts and money off promotions, to receive free stuff, to receive advance notice, to keep up to date with the company's products or services. Australia was to receive free stuff, to receive discounts, to keep up to date with the company's products, and to gain access to exclusive content. Brazil, which is the largest Facebook user in terms of population, even compared to the United States, which is kind of weird. To receive discounts and money off promotions, to receive free stuff, to keep up to date, and to receive advance notice. So when somebody is liking a Facebook page for the first time, and keep in mind that these are stats, they speak to the mass, not the individual. It helps you form strategy. You shouldn't go into a boardroom or meeting room and say, well, Kyle Lacey said that 36% of people like Facebook. That's why we should have a coupon on our Facebook page. That's dumb, right? It just helps us form an opinion around what we think we should do. To receive free stuff, to get discounts, and to be informed about the company. Why do people go to Twitter? Why do people follow brands on Twitter? United States, to get updates on future products, to stay informed about the activities, to receive discounts, and to get updates on upcoming sales. France, to keep up to date, for a quick and easy way to keep my finger on the pulse of the brand or company, to gain access to exclusive content. So Twitter tends to be globally more of a content portal than Facebook, surprisingly, right? Because the majority of people are reading, they're not necessarily tweeting. To receive alerts for more information related, to receive discounts, and to receive advance notice in Germany. Germany is probably the smallest number in terms of Twitter usage. Australia, and keep in mind, if I come back here in 3 months, there will be Canadian slides all over this thing. To keep up to date with the company's products or services, to receive alerts, to receive free stuff, and for a quick and easy way to keep my finger on the pulse, to receive discounts. So Brazil on Facebook and Twitter actually flipped. They want content on Facebook, they want free discounts on Twitter, which I don't understand why. We haven't got to that point yet. To receive free stuff and to keep up to date. UK, for more information, for a quick and easy way to receive advance notice and to gain access to exclusive content. So through all this, it all has to do with content, right? So why do people unlike brands on Facebook? Why do you think? Why do you think people unlike brands? You see the ex-boyfriend just scrolled out. Company posted too frequently was number 1. Number 2 was my wall was becoming crowded with marketing posts. Number 3 was the content became repetitive or boring. And number 4 was I only liked the company to take advantage of a one-time offer. What do the top 3 have to do with? So it's one word. Well, yes, annoying is one of them, but that's all I was looking for. Who said content, right? Content. It doesn't matter what channel you use. It doesn't matter if you're using mobile, email, social, Facebook, Twitter. If your content's bad and you cannot write and you can't tell a story, it's not going to work. Plain and simple. The problem is that we look at all these trends that are happening. We say, we need to use this. And we haven't even got to the point where we're using content the right way. You can segment your email any way you want. You can use Twitter the best way you know how, but if your content's bad, it's not going to work. So out of social audiences, it's content. But the one thing that social media brings us is the ability to co-create with people that buy from us. Because who's your best salesperson? Customer. Plain and simple. That's it. It's not the agency. It's not the leadership. It's the customer because they know why they bought from you, right? So I'm going to give you an example of co-creation. But first, we're going to read a quote from, let's switch out again. Anybody know who Seth Godin is? Raise your hand if you know who Seth Godin is. Oh, perfect. So Seth Godin, ExactTarget was built. This is hilarious. No more Targus anymore. Logitech for the rest of my life. You win. Good. There we go. You're switching it out. Marketing is no longer about the stuff that they make, but about the stories you tell. ExactTarget was built off the book Permission-Based Marketing, which is a book that Seth Godin wrote years ago. And it's the idea of sending permission-based messaging to people. But he made this quote in this book 10 years ago. Marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make, but about the stories you tell. I think that if we were going to do it again, it would say, marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but about the stories we tell. And I think that if he were to write it again, it would be, marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make, but about the stories they tell. And social media is the place where you can get people to tell you why they buy your product, good or bad, because frankly, you can't ignore it. Quit deleting posts off your Facebook page because somebody dislikes something that you do. You think they're telling people anyway? Just because you deleted it on Facebook, is that like sucking the words out of their mouth? And they're like, I can't talk about it anymore? No, it is not. Seth Godin is not happy about me changing his quote. So co-creation is the idea is that you use social media to do that. Thank you, Harl. Switch out. Does this work? Yep. Ooh, cool. All right, so this is the best example that I have. Who's familiar with Hallmark? They pretty much own 97% of the greeting card market. I saw this presentation being given by the Hallmark guy at the Greeting Card Association of America conference, which is basically Hallmark, American Greetings, and then like some random people. That's a non-tweetable one as well. So life is a special occasion. This is on their Facebook tab. So I go there and I click vow to tell them today. So it goes log in with Facebook. So when I log in with Facebook, what happens? What does Hallmark do? Pillage my Facebook profile of all my information. No joke. When it says this app will receive your basic info, which basically means your entire profile. I'm glad that they put basic, because that's not true. And your email address is if it's associated with your Facebook account. So keep that in mind. All right. So I say log in with Facebook. That's awesome. I vow to tell somebody something. My mom, boyfriend, John, husband, grandma, Mary. So I put. I sound like an idiot because I should have put my wife, but I put wife. So I vow to tell wife, like I'm demanding that she do something. That something. So you put in something in there, and you can add a photo, and then you put next. Say something about this, of course. So I share it with all my friends. It hits their news feeds, and that's awesome, and everybody's liking it because it's so sweet. And then it takes me to this page. I vow to tell wife that I love you. You could create a personalized card, which they will mail to her or him or it, if it's your dog or cat, depending on what you have. And then you can print an in-store coupon. So you can print the coupon, you can take it in-store. Do you think Hallmark's tracking that at point of purchase? Yes, because they spend a ton of money in their POS system, their point-of-sale system. Now, most of the time, retailers are very far behind in POS systems. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then you can sign up for email from Hallmark to get information. What is the coolest thing about this campaign, in your opinion?
They're fighting the digital wave, which will kill them.
They're what? Oh, fighting the digital wave. Wow, I've never gotten that answer. Fighting the digital wave that will eventually kill them. That's deep. The Blockbuster people are like, damn it, I lost. Should have listened to you earlier. What else? What's cool about this? They can market directly to you because now they know everything that I like. They know I have a wife. They know that my marriage date is on my Facebook page, all that stuff. That's not the coolest thing. They didn't have to, you're almost there. They didn't have to ask for it. I gave it to them. They had 250,000 people fill this out in like 60 days, I think. What did they get? They got a database, which is awesome because now they can track revenue with this Facebook profile or Facebook campaign. They got cards. Card text. All the people that like Hallmark on their Facebook page are filling out a bunch of cards. Do you think they're going to use this content to put cards in the store? Absolutely. They're taking your content, and I don't know if it's on there anymore, but they're making little images that have your saying on it, and they're publishing it to their Facebook page like an Instagram. And the most likes that a thing gets, they turn into a card. Do they have to pay for that? No, it's about co-creation, right? It's about your ability to take the community that you spent a lot of money and time building and just ask them how to make the product better. Now, what you have to get over in order to do this, the true value in social media is not sales. We're not to the point where, frankly, we can measure that. I think if you spend a lot of time on it, you can. If you do something like this where you can print an in-store coupon and track that revenue both from e-commerce as well as in-store, you're doing it the right way. But it's really hard for us to do that because it's a very community-focused strategy, right? So it's about that content, that co-creation. But in order to do co-creation within a company, you have to get past the fear of just opening it up. And a lot of leadership and a lot of people in general do not like opening it up to people. Does anyone remember Toyota, what happened to Toyota about 4 years ago? What happened? Recalls, why, though? Brakes, right? Brakes were going out in cars, which moving vehicles, brakes should not go out, right? So what did they do? What did Toyota do? Other than recall all the cars, of course. They created this thing where, tell us why you love your Toyota car. They had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people fill this out. And all the commercials that they have now, most of them where you see like the 5 family members that every single one of them have a Toyota and the little kid's mad because the dad has the new one and he doesn't, was from the Facebook account. It was a real family. And they crowdsourced ideas. It takes way too long for us to sit in a room and try to figure out what tagline is going to work on a direct mail piece by guessing. Right? So data comes into that as well, but that's the idea of social. All right, so moments is number 3. Does anybody know what this picture is of, other than the obvious? What is this? Anybody heard? It's a dog. Anybody heard of underwater dogs? Okay, it's the best thing of all time. Some photographer was sitting at his house one day and was like, I don't know how to make money. No idea. And so he threw his dog in the pool and took a picture of it underwater. And started selling them. And if you search underwater dogs on Google, there are hundreds of photos now of dogs just swimming. I don't know who buys them. I would assume the owners of the dogs that they almost drowned. But the dude took advantage of a moment. Now, this is not in a case study of you going to your boss and saying, this is a great way we should use social media, is with dogs and putting dogs on our billboards and all that stuff. I mean, dogs work, don't get me wrong. But dogs and any animal, really, other than snakes, pretty much it. You what? How did the guy that took the first picture make any money? Because he sold it. Well, not one. He sold a ton of one and then just started taking in pictures of a bunch of dogs underwater. That's it. Which is ridiculous. But he took advantage of a moment, right? And I think in social we talk a lot about moments because moments are mobile. So in the mobility revolution, I think that social in general is a trend, but if you want a trend, a real trend, it's mobility in the past 5 years. This is Pope 2005, Pope 2013. Please don't tweet that. The entire Catholic Church is going to burn me at the stake. No offense to Catholics, I just called Pope poop. But moments are global. No, I'm kidding. This is the, I don't even know what it's called, 2005 to 2013. Which you're talking not a very long time, right? Where people are using mobile more often. So moments are global. And I think that the mobile movement has allowed us to be more moment-driven. 85% of the globe has a mobile phone. We know that. They have some access, right? Who has a smartphone in here? We asked earlier. Who has a clam phone? Somebody has a clam phone. There's at least one. Wow, you guys are innovative here. I at least get one per. Is there somebody that has a clam phone? Does anybody know what I'm talking about, a clam phone? Yeah. Okay. Nobody? All right. 85% of the globe has a mobile phone. 9.1 billion mobile connections by 2015. And if you don't have a connection to data, you have a connection to SMS, so you have a way to market to somebody, right? Who uses their mobile phone as their alarm? Does anybody get mad when you hear the ringtone from somebody else's phone that's your alarm, but it's their ringtone? You like throw the phone at them? But mobile also has to do, the mobile moment also has to do with email. Does anybody do responsive design for email? Who sends email as a marketing ploy? Ploy, that's terrible. Okay, so this is open rates on desktop, webmail, and mobile over the past year and a half. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit. 80%. February 2012, there was an earth shake in the software world, pretty much. Mobile open rates of email, desktop open rates of email, and browser-based. So desktop means Outlook most of the time. Mobile means it's on my phone, and webmail means I'm opening it up in like Gmail on my browser, okay? They converged in terms of the amount of opens happening on certain things. 33% of emails were opened via a mobile device, 33% were opened via desktop, and 34% were opened via webmail. What happened in April 2012? Mobile actually surpassed that in terms of email opens. Why is it important that the mobility thing is important to email, to your marketing? Why is it important? You have to write the email more carefully? What else? It has to be formatted. If I get any, I mean, it's, you know what it is now? It's up 300% over the past 2 years. We send 11 billion emails a month. 42% of those are opened via a mobile device. That's almost a year after this, 42%, and it's only going to go up. What happens if I get your email and I can't read it? If you have to do this, it wasn't designed right. Does that also apply to websites? Okay, so what happens if I'm sharing a tweet that has a link to download a coupon or to go to an event, and you know what percentage of Twitter users use Twitter through their mobile phone? 64%. Of active Twitter users, and that's straight from Twitter, 64%. If I click that link and I can't read that landing page that has a coupon for me to download, or I scan a QR code, don't even get me started on QR codes, and I can't read what's on my phone, or the QR code is on my phone, you can't scan a QR code on my phone, right? It doesn't work. And don't put QR codes on billboards, right? If you go to, I know that all of you are going to go to Indianapolis after this, but if you drive around 465, which is our main highway, there is and I'm not going to say who it is, there's a billboard with a massive QR code on it, on a freeway. Like, this is the dumbest strategy I've ever heard in my life. Okay, moving on. Okay, so the point of this is, if I can't read it, you are missing it. And if you are tracking data and you see open rates going down, and you see click-through rates going down, and you see that people aren't clicking, or they are clicking on your tweet or on your Facebook post, and they can't read it, you're not doing it right. If your website is not mobile enabled, you need to do two things. You need to fire whoever's doing your website stuff, frankly, and you need to get responsive design. And that's harsh, but it's true. There's a lot of upset people. That's true. I'm dead serious.
Can you just kind of define
responsive design? Responsive design is any tool that you're using, any device, whether it's an Android or an iPad or a desktop or, any of the other non-Apple products. The design of whatever you're sending changes based off of how you're viewing it, and it's responsive to that. So if I look at a website on an Android, I look at one on an iPad mini and one on an iPad, it's changing every time because the layout's different. Does that make sense? So responsive design is extremely important to anything because everybody's using their mobile device. It's only going to get more. It's only going to go up, right? Okay, we already talked about this. Global email open rates. This was taken in January this year. Canada is at 37% of all email is open via the mobile device, 29% on a desktop and 34% on webmail. The United States is at 38%, January. We tracked it last month, when was last month? March, and it was 42%. So it's almost gone up 4%. This is from Return Path, if anybody's familiar with Return Path. They're a deliverability software product. So mobility is extremely important to any of this. And then you got this crazy thing. What is this? Google Glass. I don't understand it. I really don't understand, to be honest with you. Has anybody seen the Google Glass video? You guys eating this? So under what was the second thing? AMC and We Are Social, Google Glass video. Go watch it, and then go watch the parody one. Where a guy's like texting and a car hits him, and it's hilarious. But this is the future. Whether they can design it to look cool and it actually works, this is the future. It's mobility, and who's driving mobility is Google, right? Google is driving mobility. It's not, I would like to say it's Apple, but it's really not. Because Google is transforming the idea of mobility. Apple just bought a Wi-Fi company. Did anybody read that? Who read that? Does anybody know what it does? Wi-Fi mapping? Maps the interior of stores so that when you're using Wi-Fi in the store, it will actually track what you're doing as well as send you to the right product you're looking for. If you're viewing it online, it's all product recommendations. Like if I was viewing a pillow at Crate & Barrel and I'm in Crate & Barrel, it's like, ding, your pillow's over here. Well, Apple just bought one, just bought a company that does that. We have clients in Australia that actually offer Wi-Fi in their stores so they can track purchase behavior. Because overseas, everybody uses Wi-Fi. If Wi-Fi is available, like 90% of the people are like, jump on Wi-Fi. They don't use their phones. Or they use their phones, but they don't use their data plan. They also have this, mobility, driverless cars. Anybody heard of this? Same guy that did Google Glass as well as the Stanford online courses built this car, which is crazy. Has anybody seen the driverless car commercial? It actually picks a guy up, takes him to a restaurant, takes him to work, takes him to CVS, and then takes him home. And the guy's blind. The dude's blind, and this car drives him around. Now, are we going to have cars that can drive themselves in the next 5 years? Probably not. There's going to be some instance where it's going to slow down. But this is the future, right? It's mobility. It's our ability to personalize things based off of the mobile environment that somebody, and that has to do with text messages, it has to do with push notifications and apps, it has to do with Wi-Fi, it has to do with applications, right? Because what do you do on your mobile phone? What do you do on your mobile phone? Everything, right? Everything's on your mobile phone. Who checks email on their mobile phone? Who stalks people on Facebook on their mobile phone? Okay, so we're moving on. So the message moment. I'm going to give you an example of text messages being used the right way. Care First, Blue Cross Blue Shield. This is actually a cross-channel example because it's a billboard, not QR code, but text messages. It's actually a sign plus text messaging. So this is at, I lost it again, Harley. Just move to the next one, if you can, before you switch it. So this is an example of a sign. You should really start eating more oatmeal, whatever. It's for to get insurance quotes, health insurance in the States. And then underneath it, it says text to get a free quote. So whoever's standing at the billboard can text 59585, text health to 59585 or whatever. And they have the ability to put in gender, they have the ability to put in age, they have the ability to put in weight, they have the ability to put in a ton of things, and they will spit back an automatic insurance quote via your mobile phone. They will email you the insurance quote to your phone, right? And you can click a link and go to the responsive design website where you can fill out the rest of the profile in order to buy it. That's an example of taking advantage of a moment, right? Why is it at a bus stop? Because people are waiting. And I have the punchline that's, oh, it works, good. Okay, reply with zip code, prompted to reply with email address. So they got the email address. She replies, receives an instant quote, receives a follow-up text announcing how to apply. You can call for more info. You can text stop to quit, right? So she gets the auto reply email. And then she can click to apply now on that automatic quote. Now, a lot of time was spent building this out, the algorithms, right? The ability to do that. But they gave somebody the ability to use their phone and to do it the easiest way possible. I think that we talk a lot about strategy and cool things to do, but we don't think about what the consumer is doing. We want to make it as easy as possible for the consumer to interact with a brand or to give money or to join a cause, right? So campaign ran 20 weeks at bus stops in Lexington, Kentucky, generated 449 text quotes, produced 200 leads, and increased sales of that health insurance plan by 10%. And they bought space, they provided somebody the ability to do it, and they drove revenue through email and mobile. Does that make sense? So this idea of mobility is just providing somebody the means to do it. Now, it takes time to do it, but once you have it down, once you have it built, how easy is it for them to do another campaign using another form of traditional marketing? It's really easy now because they already built the process. Now, whether it's alerts, whether it's emails, you have the ability to send messaging, and then moments are social. Does anybody know where this is from? Most overrated marketing campaign of all time. Super Bowl. What happened? Power went out, and then Oreo was like, bam, in like 30 seconds. I give them credit for being able to get through all this siloed crap and delivering a marketing message within 30 seconds. I give them all the credit in the world. But the problem is that everybody came out and said, this is the best marketing of all time. Now, they got a bunch of impressions, and that's awesome. Okay? What is this? Same one. Lights went out. Calvin Klein sent a vine of the dude that was in their commercials just working out. Since the lights are still out, it was like 6 frames of this dude doing like crunches. That's all it was. And they got a ton of retweets. They got 100, this was taken, I took this, it was like mid-lights going out, so it was way more than this, 106 favorites. But they took advantage of a moment, which is important. I think that mobile and social are extremely important to take advantage of moments. But what are they doing after it? Did they capture anything from anybody? Now, Oreo's a little bit different. Calvin Klein's a little bit different. Your business is a little bit different. But they didn't think past that, right? Moments only work if we understand that the consumer is multi-channel. Moments only work if you upsell or re-engage them after the fact. Now, Oreo, it didn't cost them much money. It was great. Everybody talked about them. Do you think that Oreo sales went up because of it? Do you think that they're tracking it? Maybe, but they're not going to release it. But that's what we need to look at. But everybody applauds them for what? For being quick. That's it, right? So I'm going to give you an example. Papa John's is the best example of this. This is also the Super Bowl. Does anybody know what happens, Papa John's, what they did this year and last year? You chose which side of the coin, and you got a free pizza if it landed on it. They took advantage of one of the most watched moments in Super Bowl, other than Beyonce's halftime show. And they took advantage of a moment, right? It probably cost them just as much as a Super Bowl commercial. But what did they get? They got people's email addresses, they got their mobile phone addresses, and they got their addresses, or mobile phone numbers and addresses, home addresses. Do you think that they are marketing to these people constantly over the next year? Do you think they're re-engaging them 6 months leading up to the Super Bowl, or 3 months or 1 month leading up to the Super Bowl, saying, hey, guess what? We have another contest coming out. You should also do it. Do you think that they're delivering them direct mail with pictures of the same pizza they picked for their free pizza? Absolutely. And this is great marketing. They took advantage of a moment, but they also delivered it based on, you could print the code, you can order they actually said, they actually had email code to myself and print code, and they didn't have an order now button. And then they just switched it out, and they had, I think, 5,000 people order pizza from that order now button, just because they put it on there. But that's an example of user interface, but it's more of just taking advantage of a moment, that social moment that's important. Number 4 is data equals relevance. Jeremiah is going to spend a ton of time on data, so I'm not, because he is much smarter at it than I am. Data equals relevance. The ability to take data, to be able to understand it, to process it, to extract value from it, to visualize it, to communicate it is going to be a hugely important skill in the next decade. Plural. Does anybody know who Hal Varian is, other than Google's chief economist? You know, right? What did he do other than Google?
I don't know. I've only read a textbook by him.
Oh, you read a textbook by him. What was the textbook? Econ? Yeah, he's an economist. He also was one of the first people to help with the internet. And is Google's chief economist smarter than most economists? Yes, they are. Just a side note. He's much smarter. But the ability to take it and use it is extremely important because data beats opinions. You can sit in a room and talk about how social is important. You can sit in a room and talk about how email is important. But it's really the data that should drive strategy. Now, creative process doesn't really need data, but data should be the one applying to it. Data beats opinions. Data allows you to deliver relevant and timely content to people because they have told you what they want and you have asked for it and you have used it. One of the most important thoughts of the day today was we can ask anybody what they want, but if we don't use it, what's the point? So data, using data is extremely important, and I think we're going to get in the weeds in terms of how to do that. Already talked about that. Number 5 is cross-channel. This is the last trend. And I'm going to give you an example of a cross-channel campaign. Does anybody know what cross-channel means? Is anybody getting tired? Does anybody know what cross-channel means? I'm not going to laugh at you if it's wrong, because I don't know if anybody really knows what it means. Cross-channel is just your ability to use multiple channels to reach an individual. Mobile, email, social, all in the same strategy, right? Yeah, a lot of people call it omni. I heard tri-channel the other day, which was stupid. Dual channel. 5 is cross-channel. Your customer is already cross-channel, and the best way to do that is on your phone. This is the best example of why cross-channel strategy needs to be implemented within companies. Social reviews, social channels, web search and phone, email and text and SMS. We're already using it constantly. That's why we put things together on our phone, is because we use them together. So why aren't strategies and companies putting them together? The number one reason why, and we talked about it earlier, is silos. Companies don't communicate, departments don't communicate with each other. If you ask social media people what department they live in, how many answers do you get? Like 10. PR, customer service, sales, IT, the executive team for some reason, right? Like we want to keep an eagle eye on you just in case you tweet something bad. So when I talked at the beginning, when I said that we're going to experience massive change, I don't think it's in marketing. I think it's in organizational behavior. There's going to be massive shifts in how companies are organized. Kohl's, major retailer in the States. You guys have Kohl's here? K-O-H-L-S? Okay, good. Oh, no, C-O-L-E-S. Yes, they are also a client. They're in Australia, though. I think they're an Australian company. Is that the department store, Kohl's? Supermarket? Bookstore. Completely different than what I was talking about. I've never heard of them. Thank you. Kohl's, they sell clothes in the United States. They just hired a VP of omnichannel. All digital strategy is going to be under that one person. So it's mobile, email, social, web, all of it under one person, one strategy. Cohesive, right? But it's going to be massive change in order for that to happen. So I'm going to give you an example of cross-channel by the numbers. This is from Nike, who's a client of ours in the States. 10 campaign strategies, 4 digital channels, 4 lines of business equal 160 digital messaging strategies to implement, support, and evolve. So we should be stressed out as marketers in general. We should be stressed out since social media came about and we had the ability to pull massive amounts of data. But our ability to manage that data is what's going to be important and it's what's going to make you important in the future. If you can use data and content the right way, you're going to be the most important part of an organization. Plain and simple. And that's exciting, right? Is marketing necessarily the most important part of a company right now? Depending on where you're at? Sometimes, sometimes not. I think you're going to see technology, sales, and marketing all form into one system in the near future. But the cross-channel is just the idea that you're delivering this messaging to the individual. So we're going to go through a cross-channel experience here, okay? Everybody cool with that? Anybody named Stacy in here with an IE? Okay, good. I know that there's going to come a time where the Stacy on that picture is going to like be in a room. She's like, you didn't ask me to use that photo. 29 years old, married, mother of a 5-year-old daughter and 2-year-old son, elementary school teacher, longtime catalog customer to this retailer. Facebook fan but not a current email subscriber, has a monthly neighborhood knitting night, which is really just a reason for Stacy and the rest of the ladies to drink wine and catch up and get wasted while their spouses watch the kids. Her local store is in Portland. So Stacy bought a heart cookie cutter set because she was making cookies for a class at school. So she bought it online or she bought it in the store. That is shipped to her. And when her shipment arrives, she notices that the packing materials contain a postcard publicizing the Get Fresh with Major Cook sweepstakes. So it's direct mail within packaging that says, hey, you should go sign up for this sweepstakes with your cookie cutters. I don't know who, has anybody bought cookie cutters in the past 10 years? Somebody has. Oh, good. Guy in the back. Nice. I want to, you know, every time I give this presentation, I keep thinking, I really want to just go bake cookies and burn the hell out of them because I'm terrible at it. But when her shipment arrives, she notices that the packing materials contain a postcard. She types in the URL for the landing page as a redirected to the contest social page on Facebook. So a tab on the Facebook page. Just a redirect, it's pretty easy. She fills out her information. So enter now, stacy@portland.ed.net. She enters the contest and selects the option to opt into promotional messages from Major Cooks so that she can be the first to find out about similar offers. That's great. So we got her email address through Facebook, right? So how many channels have we used so far? 3, right? Direct mail, Facebook, and email. And of course, this is the perfect scenario. Let's just be very frank. Sometimes people don't fill out stuff, and that's fine, right? But we want to give them the opportunity to do it. Since Stacy entered the contest related to the cookbook, we automatically direct her to the cookbook section of the retailer's site. She browses the items, even adding a cookbook to her cart, but decides not to purchase for some reason. She's at school and she has to work, so she gets off Facebook. She doesn't want to buy the cookbook, right? 7 days later, we trigger a remarketing message via email for the cookbook based off of her web behavior. So if she was browsing and she didn't buy, who runs cart abandonment campaigns in here? Logitech. Does anybody know what a cart abandonment campaign is? Okay, so when I fill out something, this is huge for those of you that have anything having to do with online transactions. If I fill out something, a product, and I don't buy it, and I leave for a lot of reasons, it's not just because they didn't want to buy it, 7 days later, an email is triggered back to that person saying, did you forget to buy this? Our retailers that implement that see between a 10 and 15% increase in sales based off of those, not overall sales, based off of those people that left. 10 to 15% of those people buy based off of that email being sent to them. It's just retargeting, right? So it's triggered back. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. You can do the same on a mobile phone. They would have to be registered users, but most of the time, if somebody has something in their cart, the majority of the time, they have filled out their email address. Or they've given your mobile number, and you can trigger through mobile as well. Okay? Triggers an email, right? I forgot that this was in here. So through all this, we're tracking her behavior, and I think that as marketers, it's okay that it's okay to be just a little creepy, just not really creepy. Okay, so we're all going to say this together. I completely forgot I threw this in the deck. We're all going to say it's okay to be a little creepy together. And if you don't say it, you have to leave the room. Okay? So is everybody, it's okay to be a little creepy. So on the count of 3, we're going to say it together. 1, 2, 3. It's okay to be a little creepy. So thank you. The little creepy is tracking behavior, delivering personalized messages based off of purchase. Really creepy is like going to their house saying, hey, we saw you were just on our website, you should buy something. There's a fine line. Depending on if you're in Europe, there's an even finer line, but that's a completely different conversation. So it's okay to be a little creepy, just not really creepy. So the iGo Digital, which is a product of ours, triggers it. Stacy reads the email at work, but accidentally deletes it. I accidentally deleted my coupon via Twitter. Can you help? Get Fresh Cook. Sorry to hear that, Stacy. We have resent the email to, or reset because it's an idiot typing it. Reset the email to you. Let us know if there's anything else we can do for you. Stacy stops by the mall and buys a recommended book with her promo code. So within the retargeted email was a code you could take for point of purchase. And you could track that. You can see Stacy got older since the photo at the beginning. I actually have 5 or 6 that are real clients that we do this through, but it depends on if they give you permission or not. So we usually just tend to show you an example. So we do this with the Nike Fuel Band. So if you use the Nike Fuel Band and you get email based off of your health or what you're doing with the Nike Fuel Band, it's all powered through ours. We power all of Xbox's transactional emails. So this is just an example. This is why Stacy is now a completely different person. But so the employee says, would you like to receive an e-receipt, right? So something via email. So Stacy receives her receipt, but at the bottom of the e-receipt is what? What's at the bottom here? Product recommendations based off of the cookbook that she bought. So here's a knife set that you can cut that steak really well with. You can tell that I don't work for this retailer, but it just gives her examples of what she can buy. 7 days later, after her cookbook purchase, Stacy receives an automatic rating and review email. Rate the cookbook. Tell us what you liked, what you disliked about it. Stacy fills it out. She's also invited to join the Cookbook Club, which is another automated email triggered to her based off of her purchase in the store, as well as recommended products that she bought before. She joins and adds her mobile number to her profile so she can receive mobile alerts about cookbook clubs and events that are powered through their Facebook page. Okay? More chances to drink wine with her suburban friends. Or she gets an email or text about upcoming things. So this entire process is just one example of automation and personalization based off of somebody's behavior. Now, I know it's retail, and this is extremely hard to do, but there's going to come a point in time when anybody from, actually, if you do, you can piece together enough now that you could do this with a small budget. What happened? Oh, okay. So what we want to do, what we're looking at here is where we want to get to. And I don't care if they're giving you money. I don't care if they're buying a product. We have to be better at delivering messaging to people based off of what they want, because the attention span now is 6 seconds. Did you know that? You know it was 4 minutes 20 years ago? It's supposed to be 4 minutes based off of brain behavior. It's 6 seconds now. That's our attention span. And if you're not delivering personalized messaging, no matter what you do, whether it's B2B or B2C, it doesn't matter what trend you take. It doesn't matter if you have a path strategy or a Twitter strategy or a Facebook strategy. It has to be cross-channel because everybody's using multiple channels, and that's the trend. So when we're thinking about strategy, we have to remember that every single point in this process, each individual has a different strategy. If you don't believe me, just track what you do on a daily basis. Right? How many of you use Siri, even though she's wrong 70% of the time? That's just one example. And so when we're building out strategy and we're talking about this stuff, it's important that we are going to be the people, marketers, are going to be the people that's going to change organizational behavior. Because you will control most of the data about the customer or the donor or somebody or a PR campaign. It's all the same process.
I struggle thinking of some of the people that I work with, how they adapt some of these strategies to B2B, because some of these markets are extremely small.
Yeah.
People are using social media socially, not with their business hat.
Okay, so struggling with my comment on B2B and B2C are not different. They are very different in terms of strategy. They aren't different in terms of a very high-level idea. You're creating content, delivering it to an individual based off of what they want, right? Now, we're all selling to people, and if we are not basing a lot of our decisions off of how major retailers and major brands are doing their marketing, do you think that's a problem? Who is training consuming populations to buy product? It's the major brands that are selling millions and millions and millions of dollars. That's why you're starting to see marketing automation is a good example of that, if anybody's familiar with it. It's a B2B technology that allows you to deliver content to people based off of what cycle they're in your sales process. Because I think the stat now is by the time you get in touch with somebody in a B2B sales process, like you talk to somebody, they're already 70% of the way through the sales cycle. So I think that using social is more of a content medium to deliver content to them. more than anything else. You're not going to take an example of the Nike Fuel Band and give it to a B2B salesperson, because they're going to have no idea what you're talking about, right? But when we're delivering content, it's still the same. If you have bad content, I mean, this sales cycle, we've also worked with Volvo Construction. They sell major, big vehicles, I don't even know what they are, bulldozers and such, to people that spend millions and millions of dollars, and they use this same process of personalization through the entire cycle. So I don't know if that answers your question, actually. It's hard, and if they say it's not different, then you need to go with it. I mean, you very much need to base your opinion around what other decision makers' opinions are, right, in order to get stuff done. But it's really hard for me to differentiate the two. Because we're a B2B sales company. We only sell to business, but we use the same type of technology. Any other questions? Yeah?
So wrapping your head around something like Facebook or Twitter is often enough for an organization. The level of sophistication that you're asking of or talking of here is quite large, I guess. What are, this might speak well to what ExactTarget does, but like what are some of the tips or tricks to get people kind of...
So the question was, this level of sophistication is extremely high, especially when you're talking to organizations that are still trying to figure out Twitter. Like, why the hell are we even tweeting? Which I understand. I think that at a very basic level, when you're talking about cross-channel, you have to have a database. I don't care if you have it in Excel. I don't care if you have it in a legacy CRM that you built 20 years ago that breaks every 5 minutes, which happens. You need to have a database. You need to know that a certain customer is on Twitter. You need to ask people, are you on email? Can we deliver email to you? You need to keep track of that. I think the biggest issue that people have is that they don't keep track of their data because it's hard. But social is the best way to do it. Social is the best way to get it. And there are systems out there like social CRM system, like Nimble CRM, Sugar CRM, Salesforce is another example that will keep track of all that stuff, kind of. We're still in the beginnings of all this. But it's really hard to show something like that when somebody's still trying to get their head around Facebook. But it's just asking for information is where it starts. And keeping it just somewhere and updating it.
Well, I think it's, it really resonated when you showed that slide about 77% of people prefer to get their promotions via email. And yet so many companies are consumed with developing their social strategy better when they could get...
The best thing that you can do as social media people or marketers is to talk about email. Email is not dying. I was at a social media conference with some of the top social media people in the world, and email was mentioned 5 times in a panel. What do you have to sign up for a social network? An email. Now, that's going to change, don't get me wrong, but email drives revenue. And you can track that, and it's great for social media people because if you push it together, you can say that Facebook drove 1,000 people subscribing. We value email at $44 a person based off of sales in the past. This Facebook page generated this much revenue. Now, does that beat the opinion on whether or not Facebook should be used? Absolutely. So it's more of just being able to use all channels and not forget that email is still the #1 thing. Honestly, that's going to change. Hopefully not in the next couple years because then I'll be out of job, but that's just that's an example. Yeah?
Yeah, just because I'm just sort of working my way through this. I'm working with a client right now, and they're definitely open to cross-channel, and I'll plug them into that. But it's in terms of the content they're putting out that they're quite happy to say, this is coming up linked to the event. It's an entertainment place. And I'm trying to say that you need to give more of a frame to it. You've got to give basic information. What kind of band is this? Where are they coming from? Not just kick-ass music.
Right. I think that's not a cross-channel. I think they are doing cross-channel because if they have landing pages and email and social, then that's cross. I think it's just content. Right? So an example would be, so if your email provider, whoever you're sending your email through, Constant Contact, MailChimp, ExactTarget, whatever, do 2 tests to the same type of market. Do one that has additional content in it and one that has the one they want to do, and then show an increase in click-through rates to that lead link, and show an increase in open rates. So the best thing you could do with technology is split test everything. You could send the same email with 5 different subject lines to different parts of your database and test which one worked, and then you get a higher click-through rate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You can send 2 of them at the same time and just track. So 50% gets one type of email, 50% gets the other type of email, and then you look at what did better. And then you have data to beat their opinion on whether or not it works.
Okay. So there's no sort of hard, my feeling is just you're opening it up to, because it's, basically it's a place where we've got, for people, it's amigos.
Amigos. Are we going there tonight? Is that here?
It's
Oh, oh, good.
in the hotel,
Oh, okay.
But they're dealing with a clientele that really runs from like age 5 to 85.
Right.
And I'm right now helping them identify sort of brand identification for food, also for their music. And so it's been a bit of a push to get them there using social media. But then I was hoping that there would just be sort of a hard and fast, sort of like you can't just ban the link.
What's funny is that we talk about things getting faster, and they're getting harder. I mean, the more channels you have, the more data you have, it's not going to get any easier. But the best way to do it is testing it and showing them numbers. And then conversations are much shorter, meetings only last 10 minutes, and then you get more work done. We can talk after it as well. Any other questions? I know I got to cut it off, right? I'm done. No more questions. All right. Thanks, guys.